I do have one major complaint, and it is an Apple feature that has suddenly made Ollie Behrman my worst enemy. There's now a new playlist that's been added under Apple Music Sports called The Warm Up. You'll often see me before a session with my beats on and getting in the zone, Ollie Behrman tells Apple Music. It is worth noting in this moment that Apple does own Beats. They acquired them a while back. Even if the Haas driver says music is not something I necessarily rely on to get me ready, I do want to point out it's going to become very clear that that's the case when we go through the playlist itself. It still can be used as a good distraction to cancel outside noise if needed. Now, in his second year with the American team, he's made a playlist of songs that get him feeling as good as those points undoubtedly did. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire playlist line by line, but I will say that this playlist and that description does give this sort of like good sport energy. They were clearly hoping that there would be this kind of energy of, oh yeah, athletes, especially drivers, use cool playlists to kind of hype themselves up, and they do so either wearing AirPod Maxes the way that Brad Pitt does in the F1 movie, or of course, if that's not available to them, we can do a Beats product placement. And I actually think there's something very fun in kind of moving F1 throughout the Apple ecosystem as a whole, showing a little bit more personality of these drivers, maybe Apple exclusives where they're able to do something cool as opposed to only ever being F1 related or catching them in the media pen. I do think this playlist idea might have been a little bit more suited to launch with someone like Lewis Hamilton, who we frequently see with an AirPod in heading into the race itself, but I expect that we'll probably see a number of drivers go through this sort of playlist that we continue to see at the top of Apple Music. All of that being said, why has this fun little thing created a vendetta between me and Ollie Behrman? I don't actually have a problem with a single song that is on this playlist itself. What I have a problem with is the flow. We kick off with Ready For It by Taylor Swift, then we jump to Can't Stop the Feeling from the Trolls movie by Justin Timberlake, followed by All Night Long All Night by Lionel Richie, jumping straight from there into The Shape of You by Ed Sheeran, and the fifth song on this playlist is Marry You by Bruno Mars. Now, objectively, is every song I just listed kind of a banger? Absolutely. Is there any sort of emotional arc from song to song? No. This playlist vibes like it was intended to be put on shuffle, and to me, that is just called your music library. Maybe it's the fangirl in me, maybe it's the writer in me, maybe it's the young girl who watched too many 80s rom-coms and now romanticizes the idea of an analog mixtape. But to me, if you're going to make a playlist, there has to be flow, there has to be energy, there has to be a reason why each song comes in the order that it does. I now have a personal connection with Ollie Behrman because of his music taste that has nothing to do with his performance on track. If I had no idea what Formula One was, and I click along to this one, look at the playlist and go, oh my god, this guy is not understanding how playlists work at all. I have to look him up, figure out who he is, and figure out why I'm rooting against him. And if I'm already on my iPhone or an Apple device, suddenly it's a lot easier to find Formula One and turn it on for the first time. I have to say, it may be one of the most brilliant parts about this Apple partnership, and potentially a cool way to generate emotional connections with drivers, whether it is a positive one or not.